Warm greetings from the High 10. It is Everyday Shenanigans on this Thursday, February 27, 2020. I'd like to bring you an update on the shooting that took place in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and the said information is brought to you by NBC5 Chicago. Suspected gunman identified in fatal Molson Coors Brewery shooting. The assailant who attacked the Molson Coors complex died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound, police said. An employee who police say opened fire Wednesday at one of the nation's largest breweries in Milwaukee, killing 5 fellow workers before taking his own life, has been identified. The assailant who attacked the Molson Coors complex was identified as Anthony Farrell, NBC News has learned. Police would only say the alleged gunman was a 51-year-old Milwaukee man who died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Authorities offered no immediate motive for the attack and did not release other details about the shooter or how the shooting unfolded. There were 5 individuals who went to work today, just like everybody goes to work, and they thought they were going to go to work, finish their day, and return to their families. They didn't, and tragically, they never will, Milwaukee Mayor Tom Barrett said. None of the victims have been identified. Police, who were still contacting relatives, said Wednesday evening that identities would not be released for at least 24 hours. No one was wounded beyond those who were killed, authorities said. Molson Coors CEO Gavin Hattersley called the shooter an active brewery employee. Unfortunately, I am devastated to share that we lost 5 other members of our family in this tragic incident, he said in an email sent to employees. There are no words to express the deep sadness many of us are feeling right now. He said the office would be closed the rest of the week and the brewery shuttered for the time being to give people time to cope. Squad cars and police tape were seen outside what is believed to be Farrell's Wisconsin home. The police came to the door and said, neighbor Elizabeth Lapine, we had just come from church and an officer asked me about him across the street. What did I know? I told him I didn't know much. I told him who he is. He has a big dog, you know. He walks the dog every day. Neighbors said officers were at the scene throughout the evening Wednesday. I don't think anybody would believe that he would do something like that, but I guess if you snap, you snap, Lapine said. The attack occurred at a sprawling complex that includes a mix of corporate offices and brewing facilities. The complex is widely known in the Milwaukee area as Miller Valley, a reference to the Miller Brewing Company that is now part of Molson Coors. Officers worked for hours to clear the more than 20 buildings in the complex where more than 1,000 people work. Police announced at a late evening news conference that the work was done and all employees had been allowed to go home. Police Chief Alfonso Morales said authorities believe the shooter acted alone. President Donald Trump addressed the shooting before speaking at the White House about his administration's efforts to combat the coronavirus. Our hearts break for them and their loved ones, the president said. We send our condolences. We'll be with them, and it's a terrible thing, a terrible thing. A group of brewery employees gathered at a nearby bar, to talk about what had happened. We're all a family. We work a lot of hours together, so we're all very sad, said Selena Kirka, a brewery employee who was about to start her shift when the complex went on lockdown and she was turned away. It's just weird because 9 times out of 10, you're going to know the shooter, and another employee, Thomas Milner. It's a tight-knit family within the brewery. We all interact with each other. Milner was also on his way to work when the shooting happened, and he was turned away too. James Boyles told the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel that his wife, LaSonia Ragdales, works at Molson Coors in the claims department. She was texting from inside the facility and told her husband that there was an active shooter. She was locked in a room with a bunch of co-workers, the Journal-Sentinel newspaper reported. Miller Valley features a 160-year-old brewery with a packaging center that fills thousands of cans and bottles every minute and a distribution center the size of 5 football fields. A massive red Miller sign towers over the complex and is a well-known symbol in Milwaukee where beer and brewing are intertwined in the city's history. one part of this article says a senior official brief on the situation said an employee recently fired from the facility returned to the scene and opened fire. The facility is also home to corporate customer service, finance, human resources, and engineering departments. Tours take people to underground caves where beer was once stored, a saloon with intricate woodwork, a Stein hall with stained glass windows, a champagne room meeting hall with leaded glass windows, and an outdoor beer garden that can hold 300 people. Molson Coors announced in October that it planned to close a Denver office as part of a restructuring to eliminate 400 to 500 jobs. The reorganization was to benefit Milwaukee, which was expected to see hundreds of corporate and support jobs relocated there. Before Wednesday's shooting, there had been 3 mass killings nationwide in 2020, with 12 total victims. All have been shootings. In 2019, there were 44 mass killings with 224 total victims. The Associated Press USA Today said a Northeastern University mass killings database tracks the U.S. homicides since 2006, involving 4 or more people killed, not including the offender, over 24 hours regardless of weapon, location, victim-offender relationship, or motive. The last mass shooting in the Milwaukee area was in August of 2012 when white supremacist Wade Michael Page fatally shot 6 people and wounded 4 others at a Sikh temple in suburban Oak Creek. Page killed himself after being wounded in a shootout with police. The worst mass shooting in the area in the past 20 years was in 2005 when 7 people were killed and 4 wounded at a church service in Brookfield, a Milwaukee suburb. The shooter killed himself. Shortly before word of the Brewery shooting broke, Republican Senate Majority Leader Scott Fitzgerald told reporters in suburban Franklin that state gun laws would not be changing despite a push by Governor Tony Evers, a Democrat, to do so, according to a report in the Journal Sentinel. Evers called lawmakers into special session late last year to consider expanding background checks and allowing guns to be taken from people deemed a threat, but the Republican-controlled legislature adjourned without action. Fitzgerald later called the shootings an act of evil, the Journal Sentinel reported. At a news conference outside Molson Coors, Lieutenant Governor Mandela Barnes said, "We shouldn't accept this. We took up the issue later on social media, tweeting, 'Another avoidable, uniquely American tragedy. It's not normal. We should never accept it, and we should never relent when leaders offer hollow thoughts and prayers, but choose inaction.'" And that is the said information by Chicago 5. So, the killer has been identified. And was an employee at the plant. His name is Anthony Farrell, 51-year-old man. So here we have people gunned down, going about their daily routine, going to work, like they said, hoping to return home. And I was just thinking about that earlier today. It's amazing how you don't know the hour that you're going to leave here. And so the things you go about doing, you don't think today's the day I'm going to die, whether it be a shooting, a heart attack, or a stroke, or gun down, whatever, car accident. And it's just amazing how one day you're talking about somebody, and then the next day you're hearing news that they are deceased. So imagine now, these people know of each other, I'm sure, at the plant. They all have friends, family, associates. Somebody knows of them, and somebody's going to now speak on who they were, what they were about, how tragic it is that they were walking around, walking and talking about their lives, complaining, whatever, and now they're no longer alive. And you don't know the day you're going to leave here. Or for these sad people, get snuffed out by somebody mad at the world. Don't know this person's reasoning for killing, but as I stated in the previous video, it is wrong to just kill people because things aren't working out for you. And now that they mentioned that this person worked at the facility, I can only imagine if it had something related to the job was the reasoning for him killing the other people and himself. My previous video stated it was 7 people, but this article says 5, so I'll have to retract that on the other one. So let you all know that, because they do get conflicting information when they report these stories. This is sad and it's tragic. It's tragic because these people were minding their business, going about their day, going to work. I don't know what relationship these people had with the gunman. If there was ever a word spoken ill between all parties, we will never know. Only an outsider who's close to each of these people can give said information. And perhaps it was about something else. Could have been something with human resources. I don't know. Or something going on personal in his life. And as you see the neighbor giving her commentary, oh, he had a big dog. He walked him every day. Guess he just snapped. Yeah, I guess he did. And I can only imagine if he has family close to his family, what do they have to say? Because now you know the authorities are going to be interviewing anyone related to this gentleman, friend, family, wife, girlfriend, whatever, partner, to see what was going on in this person's life. They're going to naturally talk to human resources to see if he had been reprimanded, this and that. Oh, it said he was fired. Okay, so, excuse me. Forgot that fast. Sorry about that. So, obviously, that was it. He lost his job because that's what one of the captions was under the picture in this said article by Chicago 5 is that he had been fired. And I know it's traumatic to lose your job, but man, shooting the people at the job, you don't even think to just say, hey, I'm going to go refute this issue with these people, see what, I'm sure they had words in the office when it was time to fire him. And maybe he couldn't plead to keep his job. And we can only imagine why he got fired. That'd be another thing. Why did he get fired? But to then go leave and come back and kill the people? I mean, you just left and came back. And I think a lot of companies should have a policy that once you are fired, you are to take everything you own that day out of the facility and not return, just so you don't have an incident such as this. Because we know that 9 times out of 10, some people have to go back to a said job to get their check, that some people have direct deposit. So they probably thought that modern day, this person gets direct deposit, they ain't got no need to come back. But as you see, he did. He got fired and returned with a handgun. Somebody let him in. And can you imagine being the person who let him in the door? Lord have mercy. Prayers for the victims, families, friends, co-workers. And that was noble of them to let the co-workers grieve and have some time off from the job, because folks can get beer somewhere. Won't kill them. A couple of days having the brewery closed, Not at all. Like, share, subscribe, drop your comments below. Thanks for joining me. And until the next time, this is Everyday Shenanigans. Thanks for joining me. Bye-bye.